The moment you stop losing yourself for others is the moment your life finally begins. Most people never realize this until it's too late. They think being kind means saying yes to everything, giving more, sacrificing more, holding on tighter. But what if the real reason you feel exhausted isn't because life is hard, but because you keep carrying things that were never yours to carry? Liam Carter was the kind of person everyone liked. If someone needed help moving furniture, he showed up. If a coworker asked him to stay an extra 2 hours after his shift, he stayed. If a friend called at midnight just to talk, he listened, even when he had work at 6 a.m. the next morning. On the outside, Liam looked like a good man, someone people respected. But inside, something was slowly breaking. Every time he said yes, a small part of him felt heavier. Every time he put someone else first, he pushed himself further back. At first, it didn't bother him. He told himself, this is what good people do. But over time, things started to change. People stopped asking if he was okay. They stopped noticing when he was tired. They just expected him to be there, always available, always giving. One night, after a long 10-hour shift, Liam sat alone in his small apartment. His phone buzzed again. Another message. Another favor. Another, hey, can you help me with something? He stared at the screen for a moment, his fingers hovering over the keyboard. His body felt exhausted. His mind felt empty. But still, he typed one word. Sure. And in that moment, something inside him quietly asked, when was the last time someone said yes to you? He didn't have an answer. Days passed. Weeks passed. Nothing changed. Until one evening, something small happened that he couldn't ignore. Liam was helping a friend move into a new place, carrying heavy boxes up 3 flights of stairs. Sweat running down his face, arms shaking, back aching. He had been there for hours. No one noticed. No one thanked him. And as he placed the last box down, he overheard something that made him freeze. Good thing Liam's here. He always does everything. It wasn't said with gratitude. It was said like a fact. Like a tool. Like something expected. In that moment, Liam realized something painful. He wasn't being appreciated. He was being used. Not because people were evil, but because he never set a boundary. He never said no. He never let go. And that's when the question hit him harder than anything else. What happens when being a good person slowly turns into losing yourself? That night, Liam could not sleep. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying those words over and over in his mind. He always does everything. It sounded simple, almost harmless, but the more he thought about it, the heavier it felt. For the first time, he began to question something he had never questioned before. Was he helping people? Or was he slowly teaching them to depend on him in a way that was draining his life? The next morning, his alarm rang at 6 o'clock. His body felt sore, his head felt heavy, and his eyes burned from lack of sleep. He reached for his phone, and before he could even get out of bed, there were already 3 new messages waiting for him. One from a coworker asking him to cover a shift, one from a friend asking for a ride across town, and another from someone he barely knew asking for help with a project. Liam stared at the screen, and for the first time in years, he did not reply right away. His thumb hovered over the keyboard, just like the night before. But this time, something felt different. Instead of immediately typing sure, he paused. A quiet voice inside him whispered, what about you? He sat there for a long moment, feeling something unfamiliar. Guilt. Not because he had done something wrong, but because he was even thinking about saying no. It felt strange, almost uncomfortable. Like he was breaking a rule he had followed his entire life. He eventually put the phone down without answering and slowly got out of bed. As he stood in front of the mirror, he noticed something he had never paid attention to before. His face looked tired. Not just physically tired, but deeply, emotionally drained. It was as if he had been running for miles without ever stopping to rest. Later that day, at work, his manager approached him with the same request as always. Hey, Liam, I know you just finished a long shift yesterday, but we are short-staffed again. Can you stay a couple more hours? Liam felt the familiar pressure rise in his chest. His instinct was automatic. Say yes. Do not disappoint. Be reliable. Be the good person everyone expects. But then, something from the night before echoed in his mind. When was the last time someone said yes to you? He hesitated, just for a second, and in that second, everything felt different. His heart started beating faster. His palms felt slightly warm. It was such a small moment, but it felt like standing at the edge of something unknown. For the first time, He realized that saying no was not just a word. It was a decision, a boundary, a line he had never drawn before. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. The fear was not about losing the extra hours or disappointing his manager. The real fear was deeper. What if people stopped liking him? What if they saw him differently? What if being less available meant being less valued? That thought alone had controlled him for years without him even noticing. So he did what he always did. He smiled slightly and said, "Yeah, I can stay." His manager nodded and walked away, already expecting that answer. But this time, something inside Liam did not feel the same. There was no quiet satisfaction, no sense of pride, only a growing emptiness. And as the hours passed, while he continued working, that same question kept repeating in his mind, louder than before. If you never learn to let go, how much more of yourself will you lose? The next few days felt different, even though nothing on the outside had changed. Liam still went to work, still answered messages, still showed up for everyone. But inside, something was shifting. It was subtle at first, almost like a quiet tension that followed him everywhere. Every time his phone buzzed, he no longer felt automatic. Instead, he felt pressure, not from others, but from within. A pressure to keep being the person everyone expected him to be. One afternoon, while sitting in his car during a short break, Liam scrolled through his messages again. More requests, more favors, more people needing something from him. He noticed a pattern he had never paid attention to before. Almost every conversation started the same way. "Hey Liam, can you?" "Liam, I need your help with, are you free to?" Not once did he see a message asking how he was doing. Not once did someone say, "Do you need anything?" He locked his phone and leaned back in his seat, staring out the windshield. Cars passed by. People walked along the sidewalk. Everyone seemed busy with their own lives. And for the first time, Liam wondered what his own life even looked like without all of these expectations. Later that evening, he stopped by a small coffee shop he had never visited before. It was quiet, with soft music playing in the background and only a few people sitting inside. Liam ordered a simple black coffee and sat by the window. As he took a sip, he noticed an older man sitting at the table next to him. The man was calm, almost still, as if he had nowhere else to be. After a few minutes, the man looked at Liam and said, "You look tired, but not the kind that sleep can fix." Liam was caught off guard. He gave a small, polite smile and said, "It has just been a long week." The man nodded slowly, as if he had heard that answer many times before. "A long week does not make someone look like that," he said gently. "That kind of exhaustion comes from carrying too much for too long." Liam felt something in his chest tighten. He did not know why, but those words felt accurate in a way he could not explain. He looked down at his coffee, then back at the man. "I am just trying to be a good person," Liam said quietly. The man smiled, but it was not a smile of agreement. It was a smile of understanding. "And who taught you that being good means never saying no?" he asked. Liam did not have an answer. The man leaned slightly forward and continued. "There is a difference between kindness and self-neglect. Most people do not see it until they have already lost themselves." Liam felt those words settle deep inside him. For a moment, everything around him seemed to fade. The noise, the movement, the distractions. All that remained was that one thought. Had he been kind, or had he been slowly disappearing? The man took a sip of his drink and looked out the window. "Let me ask you something," he said calmly. "If you keep holding on to everything and everyone, no matter the cost, how much of you will be left in the end?" Liam sat there in silence, realizing that this question might change everything. The question stayed with Liam long after the man finished speaking. It followed him as he walked out of the coffee shop, as he drove home in silence, and even as he lay in bed that night staring into the dark. How much of you will be left in the end? It was not just a question anymore. It felt like a truth he had been avoiding his entire life. The next morning, everything felt heavier, but also clearer. For the first time, Liam began to notice how automatic his behavior had become. It was like he had been living on a script written by other people, reacting instead of choosing. When his phone buzzed, he picked it up slowly. Another request. A friend asking him to drive across town, nearly 15 miles, just to pick something up. Normally, he would have agreed without thinking. But this time he paused. His mind replayed the conversation from the coffee shop. There is a difference between kindness and self-neglect. His fingers hovered over the screen. His chest felt tight. His heart beat faster. It was such a simple moment, yet it felt like everything depended on it. He started typing, then stopped, deleted the words, started again. This time, something changed. Instead of forcing himself to say yes, he asked himself a different question. Do I actually want to do this? The answer came quickly. No, not because he did not care, but because he was tired, because he needed rest, because for once, he wanted to choose himself. His hands felt slightly unsteady as he typed a response he had never sent before. I cannot today. I need some time for myself. He stared at the message for a few seconds before sending it. The moment he did, a wave of anxiety rushed through him. What if they got upset? What if they thought he was selfish? What if they stopped asking him for anything at all? He placed his phone down and waited. Minutes passed. Then his phone buzzed again. His heart jumped slightly as he picked it up. The reply was short. Oh, okay. That was it. No anger. No argument. No disappointment. Just acceptance. Liam blinked, almost confused. He had expected something bigger, something dramatic. But nothing happened. The world did not fall apart. The relationship did not end. Everything simply continued. And in that quiet moment, Liam realized something powerful. The fear had always been louder than the reality. The pressure he felt for years had not come from others as much as it had come from his own mind. He had built this belief that saying no would cost him everything. But now, for the first time, he saw the truth. Sometimes, the only thing it costs is the version of you that no longer serves you. Later that day, as he walked past a mirror, he noticed something subtle but different. He still looked tired, but there was something else in his expression, something lighter, as if a small weight had been lifted. It was not a complete change. Not yet, but it was a beginning. And for the first time in a long time, Liam felt something he had not felt before. Space. Space to breathe. Space to think. Space to exist without constantly giving himself away. And deep down, he knew this was only the first step, because letting go is not something you do once. It is something you learn, one decision at a time. Over the next few days, something inside Liam continued to shift, but it was not easy, and it was not smooth. Letting go did not feel like freedom at first. It felt like resistance. It felt like guilt. Every time he said no, even to something small, a voice inside him whispered that he was becoming selfish, that he was disappointing people, that he was changing in a way others might not accept. But at the same time, there was another voice, quieter but steady, reminding him that he had spent years ignoring himself. One afternoon, Liam received a call from a close friend, someone he had helped countless times before. The request was familiar. Hey, I really need you right now. Can you come over? In the past, Liam would have grabbed his keys without hesitation, even if he had plans, even if he was exhausted. But this time was different. He had just sat down after a long day, finally giving himself a moment to rest. His body felt heavy, and his mind needed quiet. He closed his eyes for a second, feeling the weight of the decision. Say yes, and everything stays the same. Say no, and everything begins to change. He took a slow breath and said, I cannot come tonight. I need to take care of myself. There was a pause on the other end of the phone. Not long, but long enough to feel uncomfortable. Oh, okay, his friend replied, the tone slightly different than usual. Not angry, but not warm either. After the call ended, Liam sat there in silence, feeling a mix of emotions he could not fully explain. There was relief, but also doubt. Had he done the right thing? Was this how it was supposed to feel? That evening, he found himself thinking about the man from the coffee shop again. The calm voice. The simple questions. The way everything suddenly made sense. Liam realized that letting go was not just about saying no to others. It was about releasing the fear that had controlled him for so long. The fear of being disliked. The fear of being left out. The fear of not being needed. For years, he had believed that his value came from how much he could give. The more he sacrificed, the more worthy he felt. But now, he was starting to see the truth. If your worth depends on how much you give away, then you will always feel empty in the end. The next morning, Liam woke up earlier than usual. Not because he had to, but because his mind felt different. Clearer. Lighter. He made himself a simple breakfast and sat by the window, something he had not done in a long time. As he looked outside, watching the quiet movement of the morning, he noticed something he had never truly experienced before. Stillness. No pressure. No urgency. No constant pull from other people's needs. Just a moment that belonged to him. And in that moment, Liam understood something deeper. Letting go is not about losing people. It is about finding yourself again. But as peaceful as it felt, he also knew this was only the beginning. Because not everyone would understand his change. Not everyone would accept it. And soon, he would face something much harder than saying no. He would have to face what happens when people expect the old version of you to come back. The shift did not go unnoticed. At first, it was subtle. A delayed reply. A polite refusal. A moment where Liam chose silence instead of immediate agreement. But over time, people began to sense that something about him was different. One afternoon at work, a coworker approached him again, this time with the same casual expectation. "Hey Liam, you can cover my shift tomorrow, right?" I already told them you would. The words were said so naturally, as if his answer had already been decided for him. For a brief second, the old habit tried to take over. Say yes. Keep things easy. Avoid tension. But Liam felt that quiet space inside him again, the same space he had started to protect. He took a slow breath and said, "I cannot do that tomorrow." The coworker looked surprised. "Wait, what do you mean? You always help out." There was no anger in the voice, just confusion, as if Liam had broken an unspoken rule. Liam nodded slightly, keeping his voice calm. "I know, but I have things I need to take care of." The coworker paused, then shrugged. "All right, I will figure something out." And just like that, the moment passed. But something inside Liam stayed. It was not guilt this time. It was awareness. For years, people had built expectations around him, not because they were forcing him, but because he had shown them that he would always say yes. He had trained them without realizing it. And now, he was changing the pattern. Later that evening, Liam met a group of friends for dinner. It was the kind of place he used to enjoy: loud conversations, shared meals, familiar faces. But as the night went on, he noticed something he had never seen so clearly before. The conversations often circled around needs, favors, and small complaints. Someone needed help moving next week. Someone else needed advice. Another friend joked about how Liam was always the reliable one, the person you could call anytime. Everyone laughed. Liam smiled too, but this time, it felt different. He was no longer fully inside that identity. For the first time, he saw it from the outside. And then, something unexpected happened. One of his friends leaned forward and said, "Hey Liam, I have been meaning to ask, are you okay? You have been a little quiet lately." The question caught him off guard. It was simple, but it felt rare. Liam paused, unsure how to respond. He could give the usual answer. "I am fine. Keep things easy. Keep things light." But instead, he said, "I think I have just been learning to slow down a little." His friend nodded. "That is good. You do a lot for everyone." The words were kind, but they carried a truth Liam had been slowly uncovering. He had done a lot for everyone, but very little for himself. As the night ended and Liam walked home under the quiet streetlights, he realized something important. Letting go does not just change how you act. It changes how people see you. Some will understand, some will adjust, and some will not know what to do with the new version of you. But for the first time, Liam was no longer trying to control that, because he was beginning to understand something deeper. You cannot grow into who you are meant to be if you keep holding on to who you were just to make others comfortable. The real test did not come from strangers or coworkers. It came from someone who knew Liam the best. A few days later, his phone rang late in the evening. It was his closest friend, someone he had always shown up for without question. Liam picked up, and before he could even say hello, the voice on the other end sounded rushed and stressed. "Hey, I really need you tonight. I am not doing well. Can you come over?" Liam felt his chest tighten immediately. This was different. This was not a simple favor or a small request. This felt serious. His instinct came rushing back stronger than ever. Drop everything. Go. Be there. Do not think twice. But at the same time, something inside him held him still. Not out of indifference, but out of awareness. He had spent the last few days learning something new, something uncomfortable. That helping others should not mean abandoning yourself completely. He took a slow breath and asked gently, "What is going on?" His friend explained, talking quickly, emotions spilling out, overwhelmed by stress and frustration. Liam listened carefully, just like he always did. But this time, he did not interrupt his own thoughts. He did not immediately promise anything. He stayed present. When the silence came, his friend said again, "Can you come?" Liam looked around his apartment. It was quiet, calm. For the first time in a long while, he had planned to rest, to recharge, to take care of himself. And now he stood at a crossroads again. Not between right and wrong, but between habit and intention, between losing himself and choosing balance. He spoke slowly, choosing his words with care. I care about you, and I am here to listen. But I cannot come over tonight. I need to rest. We can talk right now, or I can come by tomorrow morning. There was a long pause, longer than before. This time, the silence felt heavier. Wow. Okay, his friend said, the tone slightly distant. I just thought you would be here like always. The words landed deeper than Liam expected. For a brief moment, guilt tried to take over again. Maybe he should go. Maybe this was selfish. Maybe he was going too far. But then he remembered something important. Being there for someone does not always mean being physically present at every moment. It means showing up in a way that is honest and sustainable. He stayed on the phone. He listened. He supported. But he did not abandon himself this time. After the call ended, Liam sat in silence, feeling the weight of what had just happened. This was not easy. It was not clean or perfect. It was messy, emotional, uncertain. But it was real. For the first time, he had not chosen out of fear. He had chosen with awareness. And slowly, he began to understand something deeper than before. Letting go is not about caring less. It is about caring in a way that does not destroy you. Because if you lose yourself while trying to save others, in the end, no one truly wins. The next morning, Liam woke up with a strange mix of emotions. There was still a trace of doubt from the night before, but there was also something new. A quiet sense of strength. Not loud, not overwhelming, but steady. For the first time, he felt like he had chosen his actions instead of reacting to them. As he went through his morning routine, making coffee, sitting by the window, watching the early sunlight stretch across the street, he noticed how different everything felt. The world had not changed. The people around him had not suddenly become different, but his experience of it had shifted. Later that day, Liam met his friend, the one he had spoken to on the phone the night before. As they sat across from each other, there was a brief moment of silence. Not uncomfortable, but unfamiliar. His friend looked at him and said, "You seem different lately." Liam nodded slightly. "I think I am just trying to take better care of myself." His friend leaned back, thinking for a moment. "I guess I just got used to you always being there," he said honestly. There was no accusation in his voice this time, just realization. And in that moment, Liam understood something important. People do not always expect too much from you because they want to take advantage of you. Sometimes, they expect it because you have always given it. Patterns are built over time, and breaking them takes patience, not just from you, but from others as well. As the conversation continued, something shifted between them. It was subtle, but real. There was more honesty, more balance, less pressure. For the first time, Liam did not feel like he had to prove anything. That evening, as he walked home, he passed by the same coffee shop where he had met the older man. Without thinking too much, he stepped inside. The place looked the same. The soft music, the quiet atmosphere, the gentle rhythm of people sitting with their thoughts. He glanced around, half expecting to see the man again, but the chair was empty. Liam ordered a coffee and sat by the window, reflecting on everything that had happened over the past few days. It was not a complete transformation. He still felt moments of hesitation, moments where the old habits tried to return. But now, he could see them clearly. He could pause. He could choose. And that made all the difference. As he sat there, he remembered the question that had started it all. How much of you will be left in the end? This time, the question did not feel heavy. It felt like a direction, a reminder of what truly mattered. Liam took a slow sip of his coffee and looked outside, watching people move through their own lives, carrying their own invisible weights. And for the first time, he understood something deeply. Letting go is not a single moment. It is a practice, a quiet decision you make again and again. And with every choice, you either lose a piece of yourself or you begin to take it back. Days turned into weeks, and something quiet but powerful continued to grow inside Liam. It was not loud like motivation or dramatic like a sudden life change. It was steady, consistent, real, the kind of change that does not need to prove itself to anyone else. He still helped people when he truly wanted to. He still showed kindness. But now, there was a difference. He no longer gave from emptiness. He gave from choice. And that changed everything. One evening, as he sat alone in his apartment, Liam picked up his phone and scrolled through old messages. Conversations from months ago. Requests he had answered immediately. Moments where he had said yes without even thinking. As he read through them, he realized how much of his life had been shaped by a single fear, the fear of losing people. But now, after everything he had experienced, that fear no longer held the same power. Because he had learned something most people never stop to question. You do not lose the right people when you stop overgiving. You only lose the version of yourself that believed you had to earn your place in someone's life. The next day, Liam returned to the coffee shop again. Not because he expected to find answers there, but because it had become a place of reflection. As he sat by the window, he noticed something he had not paid attention to before. Everyone around him was carrying something. Some looked stressed. Some looked distracted. Some looked tired in the same way he once did. And in that moment, Liam understood something deeper than before. Most people are not trying to hurt you. They are just trying to manage their own struggles. And if you are not careful, you will start carrying those struggles as if they are your responsibility. He took a slow breath and closed his eyes for a second. For years, he had believed that holding on was strength. Holding on to people. Holding on to expectations. Holding on to the need to be needed. But now, he saw the truth clearly. Holding on without boundaries is not strength. It is exhaustion. It is slow loss. It is the quiet way you disappear without even realizing it. When he opened his eyes again, there was a calmness in him that had never been there before. Not because everything in his life was perfect, but because he had stopped trying to carry everything. And as he sat there, one final thought settled into his mind, simple but powerful. You cannot build a peaceful life while constantly abandoning yourself. The world will always ask something from you. People will always need something. There will always be expectations, pressures, and moments that pull you in different directions. But in the end, there is one question that matters more than all the rest. Not what others expect from you, not what you can give, but this. Are you still choosing yourself in the process? Because the moment you stop doing that is the moment you start losing everything that truly matters.